Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the council meeting for the 22nd of November 2023. Can I welcome councillors, staff, and the chair of the Foxton Community Board in the building, but also those online and watching us with the live stream. Can we please commence with our karakia, which is on page 5 if you're not quite sure, and on the screen. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, e hi aki ana te atakura, hei tio, hei huka, hei hauhu, ti hei maori ora. Thank you. Okay, we have an apology from Councillor Grimstone. I'll move that be accepted. Seconded by Councillor Tukapua. All those in favour? Against carried. We have one member of the public that wishes to speak to us today, and that's Viv Bold. Can I see you there, Viv? If you can. So Viv wants to talk to us around page 38 of the Actions Monitoring Report. Welcome, Viv. Sorry, no one can hear you, Viv. If you want to just turn your mic on.
Sorry about that. Right, they're just 3 items that I have picked up on and I find worthy of comment. This one on page 38 of it's about that the council asked the chief executive to review the property's disposal strategy to include more or less first refusal to the Horowhenua clause, blah blah blah. And yes, that should be in there. I agree with this. It was also put in as a clause in August for Monique to review, but obviously once again it's just sat on the table.
It was only done recently. We're expecting, as the note says, we're expecting that to come back to council in December.
Oh, so that wasn't for today's adjournment notice at all?
No, it's on the monitoring report, but it's not on the agenda today as such. The report around that item is coming back to council in December.
Items that were going to be discussed by you all.
Well, it's in the monitoring report, so you can.
Okay, that's fair enough. But yes, I agree with that. I don't think the Horowhenua Trust should have first right to everything. The tauhanga of the Horowhenua, and so therefore all people should have it. And a little story that came back from the Wairarapa when I was over there was that it should be offered equally priced to all ones who wanting to buy it. There was an example of the Kimberley block being offered to Poco for 80 million and 8 million to somebody else. Yeah, so it has to be.
You're relitigating history there, which I suspect is incorrect.
Okay. So that's other paperwork also. The other second item that I yes, it's probably when I'm not very organised, is it? There was one of wastewater came up last week for discussion. I would really like that the digesters down at the wastewater plant have a spare one of those in provision. I presume the Foxton wastewater and the Levin wastewater are the same diameters, and therefore a spare one would go either direction. It takes 2 to 3 months to decommission the digester before an in-depth inspection can take place, and assess what options need to be available. And all of that. One time Mr. Bishop asked what happens if we don't get it in time. Well, it just goes out to the pot, doesn't it? Unfiltered. So we really need one of those. That's a priority, I would think, as a person. If your budget is low, we need to prioritise that and put it on thing. And the other thing was an article in the Chronicle the other day, which upset quite a lot of us, about this new pathway around the lake. We are also seeing in the paper about the green flag thing for the parks and how well they're doing. Milpoko Park is doing terribly. Nobody's mowing it. The water Toby hasn't ever been on, and considering the tourism is about to start, it's Christmas time, I think maybe HDC could consider doing something there.
Covered a lot of things in that short brief of time. So the infrastructure team are well over the digester issue, and that is part of certainly some of the maintenance or renewals that we are facing for the wastewater treatment plant. In terms of the walkway, it's only a suggestion at the moment, which will be put to our long-term plan. So there's obviously a lot more discussion to go in that space before anything is progressed. But yeah, as for the lake, well, that's we could be here for the next few hours if we were going to continue. But obviously it's top of our mind, and we are trying to do things in the background that hopefully might resolve a situation there.
One more thing, if I may, Bernie. Under the Road Act of 1945-55, the access way for the people is through the Milpoko Park. So the Milpoko Park needs help making itself more presentational if we can.
Thank you. There's another council meeting before Christmas, Viv. I'm sure we'll see you. Okay, let's move on. So, any late items? There are none. Thank you. Any declarations of interest from anybody? Okay, thank you. We now move to confirmation of the minutes from our meeting held on the 11th of October 2023. So I'll move that the meeting minutes of that date be accepted as a true and correct record, seconded by Councillor Jennings. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We now move to our reports. So the mayoral report on page 7, 6.1. No further commentary there. Just move that report be received. Second by Deputy Mayor. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Any items that councillors wish to ask about? Clarifications? Councillor Jennings.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I did mean to ask you this before the meeting, but I didn't get round to it. There's one item there that sparked my interest, which was the regional manifesto meeting. Can you just speak to what that's all about?
Certainly. So you will have heard talk from this new government that they are keen to do regional and city deals. We believe that as a region we need to present a united face to the new government and highlight the priorities that the region has. So we are working on a paper. It won't be long and extensive, but just listing the priorities that we see as a region that we need the government to concentrate on and give us some support on. Pretty much. That's it. All right. Sorry. All right. Sorry. Just moving back to confirmation of minutes. And 5.3, meeting minutes of our extraordinary meeting of Council on 25th of October, that these minutes be accepted as a true and correct record. Again, seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Sorry, and we'll deal with the in-committee minutes while we're in committee. Moving to 6.2, which is the Chairperson's report from the Te Awaho Foxton Community Board. Move receipt of this report. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. There's no further matters for us to consider. Just noting that report, the Chair of the Te Awaho Foxton Community Board is here if there are any particular questions, but just
the opportunity to give an update. I'm aware of Monday's Foxton Futures Day, for example. You may want to.
Would you like to join us at the table, John? So, did you hear the question from the Deputy Mayor?
Oh no, it's all good. There's an opportunity, Chairman John, if you want to update on the Foxton Futures, the three hui on Monday.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Worship and Councillors. My report was brief because we are all in the middle of discussions, right, and many of them. And I would like to first of all extend our recognition and thanks to Ashley for her tremendous work she's been doing regarding the Foxton Beach Endowment Fund. You'll be happy to hear that we have arranged a meeting at the Paranui Marae for December after the return of Ashley Huria, who's currently on his way to Colombia. Okay. I would also like to recommend what's happening with the participation for the Foxton Futures. We had 3 sessions on Monday, which were attended by almost 100 people. There were many ideas put up there, and it's very good to see that the community in Foxton are very concerned with the future of Foxton. And I honestly request you, councillors, to remember that we are concerned about going forward. Thank you. All right. We've had great communication with the Horowhenua Camera Trust, and I can read you that if you don't mind, because we're talking about the CCT cameras in Foxton. I got an email last week from Brett Gillis, who's the development officer of the HCCCD, or whatever it is. Okay. The trust representatives have had discussions with 2 property owners in Foxton Main Street, and the final design and costings is continuing rapidly. One of the sites within this development was to install a camera under the veranda on the southern end of the shops outside the Ministry of Social Development building. However, they have informed the trust that that's not in a position to assist, so we can't put one on the Winds building. As an alternative, we're proposing to install a wide-angle camera on the Electra post on the corner of Harbour Street next to the Salvation Army car park, where it will actually cover the convergence of 4 roads, which is probably a better site for it anyway, because it'll take care of Union Street and Harbour Street and Main Street. Our funding trustee, which is their funding trustee, is currently starting the process of making applications for the funds for the proposed development. I believe they've already visited the ECCT, where David Clapperton is in fact the chief executive. So that may be in our favour. We have experienced a slight delay in progress due to the key personnel being on annual leave. That happens to us all. And the trust is hoping to start the install in early 2024. Initially, they were talking about mid-2024. They feel confident that they'll be bringing it forward, which is very good, which is very interesting. And there is a strong commitment through that trust to actually bring that installation forward, because the police are also very keen to see the cameras up in Foxton, because it will be a good link in their preventative aspect. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Only one last thing I'll say is that we haven't talked about the long-term plan very much, but we probably have got about 30-odd remits for you when we come to present our submission.
Look forward to it. Any questions for them? Sorry, John, just turn it. Thank you.
Thank you for attending today and sharing that feedback. And also support your endorsement of the work Ashley and the team have been doing around the freehold and the Fox and Futures workshops that were held. I was really just going to touch up on point 3.4 in your report around Fox and East Drainage Scheme and the presentation, and just interested to know if there's anything council should be considering around the Fox and East Drainage, whether anything of benefit or anything to assist us around Fox and East Drainage. Are there any gems that we should be imploring for the Foxton community out of that meeting?
The only thing I can tell you about there is that I've been having discussions with our Horizons councillors about the makeup of the governance board, which they have basically agreed to put in place early next year, which will consist of one councillor from here and 2 members from the community board and the Horizons team to get down to brass tacks about the fact Fox and East drainage scheme and the whole system.
Thank you, John. Okay, next item on the agenda is 7.1, the review of the dangerous and insanitary buildings policy. And while Vi and Brent come to the table, can I move 3.1 and 3.2? Seconded by Councillor Olsen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Welcome.
Kia ora koutou. So we're presenting the review of the Dangerous and Insanitary Buildings Policy Report this afternoon to seek resolution from Council to adopt the updated version of the policy, and in doing so confirm the review of the policy is complete. The Building Act requires that Council has a Dangerous and Insanitary Buildings Policy, and we've had one since 2006. It either needs to be reviewed upon any issues that arise or as a result of legislation changes or at intervals of no more than 5 years, whichever comes first. This policy is due for its 5-year review. Officers have reviewed the policy and identified that there is no material changes that need to be made to the policy. However, in doing so, have identified 2 changes that we would like to make. The first one being where the policy refers to the New Zealand Fire Service. That's no longer correct terminology, and we'd like to update that to Fire and Emergency New Zealand, FENS. And the second one being a refresh of the policy template itself. So there is now a new template that we're using for council documents that better reflects our identity and corporate brand. So we're proposing that we transfer it over as well. In the report, you'll see that we've included the previous version of the policy so that you could compare the 2 and see that there's been no material changes.
Any questions for Vi and Brent? Councillor Branning.
Thanks, Vi. I did have a look through it. I meant to come back and have the browse through, but is the veranda that goes on a footpath, is that classed as a building? Or is it a part of it, do you know? And why I ask that question is here and Foxton, I've seen it. There's water ingress when it's raining through those verandas as people walking under them, so you have to sort of question, and it's, again, I didn't follow up with council, I should have. The quality of those, so it'd be interesting to know whether the verandas are actually classed as part of the building or not.
So the Building Act has definitions of what is a building and what isn't. For the majority of them, so if we're taking the Oxford Street ones, for example, they will be buildings. They'll be incorporated as part of the building, and so a lot of them will continue across. We would need to, so if a complaint came in about it, we would need to have a look at the definition of a building, apply that first, and then make a decision as to whether or not the policy kicks in terms of the policy provisions. But yes, for the majority of them, I would think they would be buildings.
So can I just follow up? Yeah. Just follow up on that. So if this didn't cover it in terms of dangerous, perhaps parts of the building code, what is that? So is that a fair assumption? Because we see water coming through like that yesterday, and I will follow up on a couple that I've seen. You have to question perhaps the integrity of the structure.
So just an answer to that, it would be, because majority of them would be part of a whole building, we need to apply the provisions of the policy to the entire building. And so if it's only part of a building, then potentially it's not going to say that that building is dangerous or unsanitary, but there might be some parts of the provisions that we could apply to just the veranda part, but it would be a case-by-case basis.
Councillor
So the option one, which is just to take those two minor edits and run with it, no need to consult as per option 2. I just wondered, or my questions are around the effectiveness of the current policy, and maybe it's just a situation that we face on a case-by-case basis. And I'm referring to dangerous buildings in particular. So of our record keeping, 3.7 of the policy, how many are identified on average per annum, and then how many of those are in a public place rather than just someone's own property? And then there's obviously monitoring and actions that you follow through with, whether it's a written notice and so many days to rectify, 10 days, I've read the detail. And following your answer, I have one subsequent question, possibly.
Thanks, Councillor Kapua. So in terms of the number of, I don't have the information on me right now. That said, the building itself, the provisions in the policy and the way it's applied is that the Building Act provides us with the mechanism, I guess, for how we can enforce or what we can enforce in terms of dangerous and unsanitary buildings. So first it needs to meet the definition in the Building Act around it. What this policy does is it says this is how we apply those provisions that are in the Building Act and how we address those. The follow-up, so in terms of a question around how we follow it up, a lot of that is already prescribed for us in the Building Act as to how much time we must give them at a minimum and how much time we can give them at a maximum. And so what we do is we then use the provisions of this policy to assess the risk and then determine how much time they should get within the scope of how much time we can allow in the Building Act.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. If I could just read a couple of lines and then provide an example and then ask of this council to consider something later on. So I'm reading from the assessment criteria 3.4. And tell me if I'm not interpreting this right. So, paraphrasing, upon the determination that a building is dangerous, assess whether the dangerous building poses a reasonable probability of danger to visitors. Furthermore, structural collapse, loose materials and connections. And then, if found to be dangerous, it talks about contacting the owner, pursuing enforcement action, periods of 30 days or more. And then at the bottom of page 22, number 6, if the building is considered immediately dangerous, etc., demolition of all or part of the building. And I'd like to know, is the sailing club at Moepuko Park, where it's half fallen down or burnt out and has no barriers or things around it for public, or to sort of tell public to keep away in case they injure themselves. Who does that fall on? Like the main board, and should we be doing something about it so that we don't carry that liability?
So that building, excuse my ignorance, so that's the first one when you first come in round by the park, isn't it? The one that burnt some time ago? Oh, is that the other one? Okay, sorry. So I'm not sure we've done an assessment of that particular building, but if it did come in for us to take a look at, we could take a look at it. I can go back and have a look to see what information we've got about it. The other one that I'm referring to, the one that was burnt down some time ago. That one has been identified as a dangerous and unsanitary building, and so there are some notices up on that building telling people to keep out. The onus is then on the owner to take action in terms of removing it, whether that be demolition or to making it safe. Making it safe doesn't necessarily mean demolition, though.
We've got the Chief Executive actually zooming in today, this afternoon, and she's got a hand up. Wishes to make a comment, so I'll allow that.
Kia ora everyone, and through you, Your Worship. I was just going to, in addition to what Vi has just highlighted, just in reference to that particular building, Councillor Tukapua, we have done an assessment around it in relation to our public places bylaw, with the view that the next step would need to be the dangerous and unsanitary building policy. But as Vi has pointed out, obviously that requires the Lake Domain Board to have the ability to make decisions, which at the moment is limited.
Thank you, Vi. Thank you, Brent. Okay, as you've heard, there is no material change to this policy. So 3.3 is that Council resolves that the dangerous and unsanitary buildings policy has been reviewed and that the policy attached as attachment A be adopted as the current version of the policy. Moved by Deputy Mayor Allen, seconded by Councillor Tukapua. Any further discussion or debate? Put the motion, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Right, moving to 8.1, Council Resolution Actions Monitoring Report. Move 2.1, 2.2, the report be received. Moved by Councillor Olsen, or seconded by Councillor Olsen. I'll move. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Any items that councillors wish some further information on or clarification? Thank you. Moving now to 8.2, which is the Regional Committee Activity Update. Move 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3 that the report be received and we note the minutes from those committees, which are the Regional Transport Committee, the Wellington Regional Leadership Committee, the Climate Action Joint Committee, again the Regional Transport Committee and the Wellington Regional Leadership Committee. Seconded by Councillor Brannigan. Any further discussion or debate on that? No questions? None. I'll move the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Now move to 9.1, which is the proceedings of the Te Awaho Foxton Community Board meeting from the 30th of October. Can someone move? Thank you. 2.1, 2.2 for those minutes being received. Seconder, please. Councillor Brannigan. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Any items that members wish to highlight, raise? Thank you. There being none, that now brings us to the end of our open agenda, and we are now going to move a motion to exclude the public to discuss the following matters. C1, a grant of easement, lot 32 DP 17402. C2, the delegations register. C3, the open spaces maintenance contract, appointment of contractor, and C4, the Council Resolution and Actions Monitoring Report, November 2023. I'll move. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Jennings. All those in favour? Against? Carried.